I'm a keen hill walker. I decided to target Ben Lomond. I wasn't in any way kitted out properly. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. I didn't have all the proper jackets, all the proper walking shoes. I was taking quite a big risk because obviously I wanted to find out what it was like and the effort that you had to go to. Eventually, on my third visit, it was in the winter time. It was about -10. There wasn't a breath of wind at all. I mean, quite literally, you could just hear a pin drop. I remember standing there and I took the picture. You could hear a far off waterfall, and that was the only sound that you could hear. And I'm just standing there thinking, oh my God, this is just beautiful. It was just incredible. There's no other real way to describe it other than saying it was, for me, I'm not a spiritual person, but it was almost as if there was a spiritual experience on the go. It was doing something to my soul. It was just really lighting my fire, as it were. And then I just stood there and thought, this is what I want to do. This is me. It's that hunger, it's that feeling in your soul when you're standing on top of a hill, either at dawn or dusk, and you know you've captured something beautiful. You've captured nature at its very best, at its very rarest, and you're the only one there capturing it. That's what floats my boat. I'm Jason Baxter. I'm a professional commercial and landscape photographer. My specialism is in the panoramic format. I use film, which in this day and age is highly unusual. I got started into photography when I was 14 years old. My dad bought me a camera. I just got straight on into taking pictures. I got a few rolls of black and white film and then just started shooting away. I didn't know the first thing about photography. I then had an ambition at that point to think about working in the newspaper industry, perhaps becoming a press photographer. I ended up working for the Herald newspaper over in Glasgow, and then after about 7 years I took up voluntary redundancy. The opportunity arose, so I thought, well, now would be a good time to really, get into what I really love to do, and I really love to take pictures.
I think one of the things that's really interesting about Jason is his, well, first of all, the format, panoramic format, which is quite unusual nowadays, and also working with film, which again is quite unusual. I remember the good old days of working with film, and there's something very special about working with film. It's very saturated, it's very beautiful. I think the digital age has probably wiped that off. And so I think working with film and the panoramic format is a treat. Working on landscape, which I've never done before, is very long-winded. You have to wait for the right moment, wait for the light, wait for the trees to stop blowing in the wrong direction, move things out of the way, and so it can be quite tedious. So I take my hat off to Jason's capability and aptitude of working with the tedious.
Part of my planning process is spreadsheet. If I've gone out for a walk somewhere and I think to myself, this is going to work, I'll put into a spreadsheet the location, whether I think it's going to be in the morning or in the evening. But sometimes I can cut it a bit fine. They do occasionally produce the most outstanding results just by doing stuff on the hoof. I would recommend that you plan as much as you possibly can, but if you get a moment of inspiration, if you get that opportunity just to get that particular picture that you're after, then just go for it at the end of the day. Edinburgh Airport was a fun commission. These kind of things don't come along very often, but it's a case of just seize the moment. And I had an agency phone me up looking for half a dozen panoramic images. They used 2 of my stock pictures, one of the landform exhibit at the Dane Gallery and the Charlotte Square one, and then the remaining 4 were commissioned pieces. One was done down at the Scottish Malt Whisky Society down in Leith. The only way I could persuade the models to come in was on the promise of some free whisky. The second one was another one in Charlotte Square actually, where we had to put up scaffolding on one side of Charlotte Square and to get the sunrise, and then there was one of the side of the Scottish Parliament. This commission was done about 8 years ago, and they're still talked about. One of my crowning achievements, clearly the unique selling point of me taking long wide pictures is something that works for me.
I think that seeing the creativeness of his business, there is definitely more to his work than the first impression that I had. In this digital age, there is still a desire for imagery of this type, and the processes that he used is quite unique. So I think it will gather interest and amazement when people look at it and think, how does he do that? I think there's a limitless potential for this, not just commercially, but in the private, even the residential sector. We're looking at using his work for other public areas such as hospitals and hotels, and where there's a steady footfall of people. So it's getting his work out into the public eye.
Photography just isn't about taking pictures. If you really want to be a photographer, you have to think about different income streams. You have to be a bit savvy. I remember there was a moment when soon after my dad had bought me my camera at 14 where I'd said to him I'd really quite like my own stock library, and so 20 years later, or thereabouts, I have my own stock library, but I also use separate distribution channels. By that I mean there are different agencies that are specific to different markets. I'm signed up with Caritas Images because they serve a particular market that I don't have access to, so it serves their purpose in terms of their own business goals, and it serves my purpose because that means I've opened up a new potential income stream. Whenever I find times where I'm going through a bit of a lull, I like to analyse where my business practice is going, take a look at my business, look at my income streams, see if there's any niche markets that are starting to come out. Basically through research you read obviously articles in the press, through photography magazines, see what trends are emerging, and then see if I can try and take advantage of those trends. Also there's about personal exploration. It's lovely because it's a day out. It's not just, I've got a set goal in mind. I know that it will push my skill set as well, because I'm exploring new ideas for myself.